Thank you so much to join us today. Today, I will present and show you about a little ways the configuration dynamic add max static configuration in the second lab chapters. Definition. By default, when a user requests a borrowed IP address, the IP address given to that user will be sorted from behind. But we can also determine that certain users, when connected, will only get certain IP address with the MAC static features. For example, when a user A with the MAC address makes a dynamic IP request to the router will automatically provide the IP address continuously even though the client restarts the device. Benefits of static list. By utilizing this feature on the Mikrotik router dynamic server, of course, we will be helped if we are going to restrict internet access and the bandwidth management. For example, you want to each user to always get a specific IP address. It does not change every time you connect to the network, so you can limit the bandwidth for the certain users, but you don't want to bother setting static IP on each user device. Then static list can answer this problem. As an example of this case, a router has built a dynamic server on the Ether2 interface and want to share IP for a special client. Before the start configuration, you must connect your router board on your laptop or your PC, and this is enable status. This status is enable, and right now open the Winbox application. If you don't have Winbox application, you can download in below description. I prepare the link. Okay, click run, and then uh, click MAC address and login by default admin. The password is blank. And then this is point of view Winbox. Now check the interface print. We configure in Ether2 because my router connected by Ether2 is running status. Now create an IP address for the running interface, but here I tried all other. IP address, add address for Ether2. Example is 192.68.43.20.1/24. Interface is Ether2. And then create dynamic setup IP dynamic server setup. Interface is Ether2, and then I address automatically, gateway automatically, address give out automatically. DNS I using the Google, is open search, and list time is 10 minutes. Now check the dynamic server. IP dynamic server print. Okay. Now check the client. This client get IP address automatically. Before check the IP in the client, you must go to check adapters first. Right click on the touchpad or the mouse and go to TCP IP4 and must obtain an IP address automatically. And then OK, and right click and click the status details. And the first we disable enable again. right? The router board is disconnect. We can reconnect again, and this check the client. All right, the client is connected to the second network details. As you can see, the client have IP address with DNS is Google. I have created previously, and check the Winbox IP dynamic server list print. As you can see, the client MAC address is 000406 d 17 and 1B is my local computer's MAC address, and this address is using my computer's. Status is dynamic. It's same the IP in the client. Now we try to configure whoever is client. We change the MAC static on the IP address. Okay, let's explain it again. I will try to change it to make static on the IP address. Later, the user will restart the device, then enables the local area connection to continue using the IP that we changed. This is used when there is a special users who want the fixed IP without changing. I will try the IP. Example is 0.4. The command is IP dynamic server list max static because we configure Mikrotik in this meet is max static. Yeah, numbers is 0. Check the IP dynamic server list print. Okay, that's right. We have configured the max static, and the status is not dynamic, is static, only static, not D. Previous is D. Now it's not D, it's only static. Then we try the IP change. IP dynamic server edit following address. Sorry, address numbers is 0. IP dynamic server, we added the address. Example, I will try the chain is 0.4, and we value name is address because I will try the address, and I will try to change address, and number is 0. Right? Enter. Sorry, Ctrl O. IP dynamic server list. Sorry, list less. Nah, IP dynamic server list edit file numbers 0. List. Okay, I will try only 0.4. Ctrl O to save and quit. Check in the IP dynamic server list print, and the IP is chain before is 254. Go to the client. If you check in status, the IP still using 254. We must disable enable again to the get this IP. Router port is disconnect. Click or reconnect. Oh, cancel. Erase. Before the reconnect the router, we check the client and enable. Sorry, enable. Now check the client. Right click and status details. And as you can see, the client have the IP address but change. Before is 254, now is 0.4. Okay, this is configuration about the max static in the Mikrotik. It turned out to be successfully. Okay, so many meets this time. Hopefully it will be useful. Wabil taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Keep stay tuned and curious. Bye bye.